Hi, everyone. Come on in. We're going to be talking UV resin today. We have a special class for you today. This is UV resin for the absolute beginner. So we're going to be breaking down this amazing magical product for people that have never done resin jewelry before, that have questions, what is resin? And maybe have never even made jewelry before at all. So if you're a beginner, you are in the right place. We're here to talk about this little magic bottle. It is UV resin, and it is a clear product that when exposed to UV light turns into a hard plastic. So this opens up so many cool crafting possibilities that have never been available before. The way this is used most commonly is in a silicone mold or in a metal bezel. And we are going to be doing a project for each of these two things. So first I'm going to start with a little demonstration. What is UV resin? And so I'm just going to move this camera down a little bit so you can see what I'm working with here. Okay, so I have my bottle of resin. I have a UV light. Now, all of these products that we're working with today are sold at Michael's in the jewelry making department. This UV lamp, I'm going to hit the button so you can see that's what it looks like when it turns on. When I hit that button, it turns on for 1 minute. So let me show you. This pours out of the bottle ready to use. And I'm just pouring it. This is a silicone mat. It won't stick to silicone. I'm just going to pour a little dot of it out there. And when we switch to the other camera, you're going to be a lot closer up in the action. So I promise you that's coming. I'm just going to put the light on it and see what happens. So as I said, I hit the button for 1 push and it automatically times this for 1 minute. Your cure time, because this product does not dry, it cures. Your cure time is anywhere between 2 and 4 minutes, depending on how big the thing is, what you've put in it, how much glitter or additives that you put in it. And so right in front of your eyes, this is curing. And so this light's been on for, I don't know, 15 seconds, something like that. Dropped it. Thank you. So let's just see what's happening. So this was clear goo a minute ago, and you can see now that this is hard plastic. Okay, that's how fast it works. Now it's not completely cured. So let me put that over there. The other cool thing about this product is that it cures in UV light, which is generated by this lamp or by sunlight. You can cure this stuff in sunlight, which is so fun. If it's a sunny day outside, it'll cure within about 5 minutes. So you have options for curing, but definitely you want to use the lamp if you're crafting at night or if it's a rainy day. And that's what that's used for. So you can see this is, let me flip it over. This is like a hard plastic cabochon now. I can't flip it over. There we go. All right, so the second thing I want to show you is, as I said, this cures, it does not dry. So you can leave this in its liquid form. I just put some on this popsicle stick and I have a glass of water here. You can leave it in its liquid form forever on your workspace. If there's no sunlight coming into your space, it will not cure. It'll stay in its liquid state until you expose it to UV light. So you have the control to get these things exactly where you want them, place your items where you want them down inside the resin. And then once you expose it to light, the cure starts. So this is to demonstrate that this product is not drying in air. So in an airless environment like underwater, it will still cure. So I'm just going to let this go for another minute while we talk about safety. So you always want to use some precautions when using this product. You want to wear gloves, work in a well-ventilated area. And as I said, work in an area where you don't have natural sunlight because the product will start to cure before you want it to. All right, so now that's gone for a minute and you can see what was just goo a minute ago is hard plastic on there. I don't know if you can see. I'm going to do like the YouTubers do. Put it on my hand. And that's basically what it is. And now we're going to switch the cameras and I'm going to show you how to make jewelry with it. Okay, guys, can you hear me over here? Okay. I'm getting a little feedback on my side, but hopefully you guys can hear me. Wonderful. Okay, so what you see on your screen here, these are the two projects that we're going to make together. These little gift earrings, they're like a cube. Ooh, I'm keeping it in the frame. They're like a cube with a ribbon. How cute are these?
Hey Stephanie, a lot of people
Yes.
are hearing the feedback that you're also hearing. So if
Yeah.
you want to leave the audio from your front view, that will help with the echo. Not just mute, you have to leave the audio.
Leave the audio.
Yeah, from the other camera.
Yeah, I did. Let me try leaving this audio and coming back. Okay, check, check. Check, check. Okay, is that any better?
Much better.
Wonderful. Okay, well, that just fixed it. You know, if all else fails, just turn it off and on again. I think that works for everything. Okay, so these are the projects. This one has a little glare on it, but I'll lift it up so you can see. This is, I'll put my finger behind it. This is a clear background and it's got a Christmas tree on it, which we've decorated. We kept the necklace very simple by just using a beautiful plaid ribbon. So these are the two projects we're going to work on. But before we do these, I would just want to show you a very simple intro to using a mold. Okay, this is a silicone mold, also found at Michael's, and you can see how flexible it is. These are high quality silicone. You can find other silicone molds out there. Here's an example of one that's really floppy. You can see, actually, let's put it in front of blue so you might be able to see better. This is a lot more clear. So this is the high quality that you'll find for making jewelry versus other low quality silicones that are out there. This one, it doesn't work as well. It doesn't leave a good texture, a nice texture on it. It doesn't leave a smoothness. So definitely we always suggest a high quality silicone mold. You do not want to use, now there are other silicone molds like this one. This is opaque. You do not want to use these for UV resin. It just won't work for you. It'll do all kinds of weird bubbling things. It needs to be clear. And that makes sense because the UV light has to reach all parts of it. And it will only cure what it can reach. So that is why having a clear mold is important. So let me bring this up just a little bit here. This is also available at Michael's. It's a little silicone cup. Okay, we use this to mix up the color. So let me just show you what that might look like. Here's our cup. This pours directly out of the bottle into the cup. And now I can add whatever I want to it. So what can I add? I can add glitter. I can add little glitter flakes, confetti, sequins, flowers, pearls, paper, just about anything you can think of can be put down inside this resin. And I'm going to show you an item. This is what the items look like in stores. And this is an item called our Mega Filler Kit. And so this is like a sampler of all the different cool stuff you can put in resin. So here we have like some flaky things, some confetti, and then we have fine glitter. And then we have real dried flowers. We have a ton of dried flowers available to you guys. We have some polymer clay fruits and little flowers. And then in the bottom, we have some metal, tiny little metal inclusions and pearl inclusions. This is a great buy if you're just getting into resin crafting because you can kind of play around with this stuff. We are going to be using this here and some pearls today. but any fine gold glitter will work. All right, so I have that right here. All right, let me just open that up and I'm going to add some glitter. Wood sticks are also available. These wood sticks are really good because one side is pointy and one side has like a doe foot. And so I'm just going to pour some glitter. As much glitter as you want. I have actually not reached a point where I've added too much glitter and it's messed something up. The more the better. So I just put a big chunk of glitter in there and I just stir it up. If you've used two-part resins in the past, you'll see how different this is. With two-part resins, you have two different bottles of liquid that you have to mix together and mix them for like a really, really long time. Here you can see what I did. I just poured it directly out of the bottle and I just mixed it long enough to get that gold glitter kind of mixed in. And this is ready. This is ready to pour into something. And we're going to pour it into this mold, this shape of the mold. And I'm going to show you this mold kind of, whoops, a little closer by flipping it over. This is the shape that we're doing. You can see that it's a cube shape, but this mold has a lot of different shapes in it for making earrings, for making charms and pendants. This one can make a really cute bracelet. But we are going to be using this one here. And I'm just going to pour it in. And fill it up to the top. So as we are going through this project and all the projects together today, I encourage you to use the chat function that is in the Zoom. I am going to try to answer your questions as I can read them. And we would love to hear from you. All right, so there, I just filled it to the top. What I can do is kind of put this wood stick in there and just, I poke at it a little bit. I just want to make sure that all of the resin and glitter got into the corners. That's all I'm doing here. Okay, we have a question from Angel. It says, how do you know how much liquid to put in? You just mix up as much as you think that you need. You know, you can see I have a little bit of liquid left in here. So you just want to fill it to the top. I'm really just eyeballing it. There's no magic number. It depends on what you're making is how much you mix up. All right, so that is still liquid. Now I have, let me bring my example over here. This is what we're making, okay? And so it hangs like this. And so we need to place something inside that mold. So we have something to hang it with, and that thing is a head pin. This is one of the basic building blocks of jewelry making, and it's like a really, really thin nail. It's got like a head on the bottom of it. And so what I'm going to do is just stick that right in there. So the resin, when I expose this to light, it's just going to cure all around it. So I want to get it directly in the middle, and I'm holding it there with my fingers or with pliers. It's probably easier, and that way you can see a little better. Okay, so I'm going to hold that in place. I'm going to bring my lamp over, and we're going to start the cure. So while this is curing, it's a great time for you to type in those questions. From PB, love the silicone pouring cup. And unfortunately, that's, it says, do you cure it? Oh, the comment went away. But I think the question was, do you cure it to clean the cup? So I'll show you how we're going to clean that silicone cup. And yeah, we're going to cure it.
Hey, Stephanie,
But the other,
do you want me to read the questions to you?
Yeah, you know, they come up on my view, but then they disappear really quickly. So I'm like, I'm racing to read them. So that would be helpful. Thank you.
No problem. So yes, the question was, do you cure it to clean it?
Yes.
And the next question is, what side of the head pin do you put in the mixture?
I put the one with the head down in there. I can't get it closer, but you can kind of see that it has like a nail head. So I put that down in there so that the nail head is at the bottom of the mold, like touching the bottom. Okay.
Perfect. And then do you have to deal with air bubbles in this resin?
That's a great question. So air bubbles are a real problem when you're doing, when you're crafting with two-part resins. Two-part resins, like I said, you have two bottles of liquid. You have to mix them very carefully in the exact right proportion. And the mixing of it creates all of these air bubbles that you have to deal with. But you can see there are no air bubbles. Very, very few air bubbles when you're dealing with UV resin. You may get some air bubbles from something that you've placed inside the resin. Sometimes that can kind of trap air, but it's really not a problem. And I'll try to demonstrate that for you throughout the class. So you can see that I've already removed my pliers from there because it's holding up on its own. It's no longer liquid. It's in the middle of the cure. And so this lamp already ran for 1 minute. I hit the button again so that it would run for, and there the second minute just finished. So that's been in there for 2 minutes. Because this has a lot of glitter in it, I probably would run it again, but let's kind of pop it out and see what we have here. So it's very flexible silicone. So I can just kind of pop this out. And I want to show you what we have here. So now we've got a cube with this little piece of metal stuck in it. And that's the base for our earring. All right, let's put our example here. Now I just set this down and I saw that there was a little dot. So I think that it's maybe not completely cured there at the bottom. So I'm just going to hold this on there. It is pretty forgiving, I have to say. If it comes out a little liquid, just cure it for a little longer. I'm just going to kind of spin it around while I do.
So I know you said earlier that people could cure it in the sun, but is there anything else besides the UV lamp and the sun that would cure this?
No, it will just remain liquid under under fluorescent light, incandescent light. I mean, all of those types of light do not affect it except UV light. And actually curing it in the sun is my very favorite way of curing because I feel like it gives you such a deep, pure cure. You don't have any surface stickiness or anything once it's cured in the sun. Okay, so this is looking good. I'm going to turn that off. And now the first thing we want to do is create a loop. Emily, I see your question about cleaning the molds, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So we want to create a loop at the top of this so we can connect it to our earring piece. Here's our earring. Here's our earring finding. And then you need a ring. So this finding is going to connect to this ring, and that ring has to connect to this. And to make it connect, we have to turn this into a little ring. That's called making a basic loop. And it again is one of the basic parts of jewelry making. So I'm going to grab this with my pliers and leaving just, I don't know, maybe less than 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to fold it over to a right 90-degree angle. Okay. And then I'm going to trim it. So I want to trim this, I would say it's about 3/8 to about 3/8 of an inch, about right there. You want to leave enough tail to make the loop. You trim it with, these are some wire cutters, also available in the jewelry department at Michael's. I mean, any type of hardware tool for cutting will work here. It's about 3/8 of an inch. So let me just cut that off. Okay, so you're left with that. Now I have to turn this little 3/8 of an inch tail into a loop. And to do that, these are special jewelry pliers. Okay, you can see they're special because it has like each of these is a cone shape. All right. And that cone shape is what is going to turn this flat piece of wire into a loop. And so to do that, I grasp it at the very end. I'm trying to get this as close to the camera as possible. I grasp it at the very end and I twist back, twist, 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 twist until my wrist hurts. And then I have to flip it and grab it again and keep twisting. And see how I've made a little loop there. So this will eventually connect to that jump ring will connect to that, and that is how we make our earring. All right, so we've forgotten one important thing, and that is to add this ribbon. This is 1/8 inch standard satin ribbon. You can use any ribbon that you have on hand. And there's no magic in this part. We're just going to tie it on, but we're going to try to do it in a neat way where the bottom, here's the bottom of the earring, where the bottom of the earring is flat. Okay, so to do that, we're just going to, this ribbon, this is probably about 10 inches or so. You don't need this much. We're going to end up cutting a lot off, but it's just easier when tying ribbon to have more than you need. All right, so I'm going to lay that flat against the bottom and then bring one edge, keeping it flat. I keep like flattening it out with my hands. Keeping it flat, bring it up and around the top and holding that. All right. And then I go down the next side. And up the other side. Trying to do this slow and also not lose my grip. Because we have this little, I don't know, kind of like tail here, it makes it easy to wrap it around and hold that in place. So I'm going to hold that in place and just bring this side up. So I'm bringing all of them up to the top. And actually going to go around that one more time. And now just tie a bow. The bow tying, I got to tell you, is the hardest part of this whole thing, but I'm going to try to do that so that it looks cute. So I just tie a simple overhand knot. Oh, and then it completely unraveled. All right, guys, let's try it again. All right, start with flat ribbon. Put that along the bottom. Lift it up, wrap it around, back down and around, and bring it to the top. All right, so that side of the ribbon is done. This side of the ribbon, all this has to do is come up. And I'm just going to wrap it around. You can wrap this as many times as you want to make it easier for you. All right, so now they're both up at the top and they're both wrapped around that post. This is where you need a third hand. Actually, can you put your finger right here? This is where it helps to have a friend. Put your finger right there. Perfect. Thank you, Rosa. That makes it a lot easier. And now we're just going to tie a bow. I tie my bows by making 2 loops, 2 little rabbit ears, okay, and then crossing them and pulling one through. All right, thank you, Rosa. And now you just play with it. Like, I don't want those giant loops in there, so I'm just gonna pull this, pull it tight again, and just keep playing with it until I get the size and shape bow that I want.
So there was a question earlier about using the silicone molds. Is there one side of it that's considered the top or the bottom in the mold?
Yes. Yeah, and actually I'm going to pause because I want to show you that. So anytime you're working with a mold, actually let me show you a different mold. Here's another mold that we have. anytime you're working with a mold, the bottom of the mold will be the front of your piece, okay? So if let me just fill this star up, for example. So I'm gonna fill that up with UV, and then I'm gonna put something in it. Let's say we're gonna put a flower. I have a dried flower here. Sink that down into the resin. Now, the face of this star that's under here is your front. So you want to front face all of your things. And let me just put that under. And then when I pop it out, you'll see it was kind of harder to tell because this is a cube shape. So it's kind of harder to tell when that comes out of the mold what the bottom and the top is. But I'll show you with this star. Okay, back to my little present here. So play with this bow. You want to get the loops the same size and get it all tight. You can put a little drop of glue that can help to hold that in place. And then when you have it exactly where you want it, we're just going to trim. Okay, there we go. And so now we have to attach our earring piece. All right, so to do this, this is a jump ring. This is another basic building block of jewelry. So, Carrie, I see your question here. The wrapping part is a little tricky because if you're using satin ribbon, it's so slick and you're putting it on a slick surface, but just keep trying it. And if worst comes to worst, you can just wrap the ribbon along the top and tie it. All right, so this is a jump ring. I'm going to show you what that is with this giant jump ring so you can kind of see better. Jump rings, again, basic building block of jewelry, they have a break. Do you see how it has like a break there in the top? The way you use jump rings are how we connect something to anything else in jewelry. The way you open it is you hold on other side of that break and open it like this. So this is an open jump ring. And then to close it is the opposite motion. You close it like this. You never want to go this way because you'll never be able to get this circle shape back. So to open a jump ring is this way and to close it is this way. All right. Now we're going to do that with our little mini here. There, I opened that up. And so I slide on my earring. This jump ring is the connector piece that's going to link your earring finding to your charm. All right, so then the top loop in that charm, the whole reason we made that is so that we could do this. And both things hang from that ring. And then I'm going to close it. I can bring in another pair of pliers if it makes it easier to close it instead of using my fingers. But there we go. That's our little earring. And then of course you need to make its twin so you have a pair of earrings to wear. All right, so that is our first project. Yay, we did it. Let me show you what I just did under here. So here I did this as an example to show you the front and back. So again, when you're using a mold, the front is here. So if I'm putting, you know, flowers or any cool stuff in there, you want to make sure the prettiest part of the flower is facing this way. So let me pop this out. And this is now the back of it, and this is the front. The front face will be the cleanest face, the smoothest face, and that's what you want. Okay, so that is our little bonus project there. Okay, so now that we are all experts in using molds, we're going to show you the other most common way that that this product is used, and that is in bezels. These are bezels. It's like an open frame thing. Okay, we have a lot of bezels. We've got circle bezels like these. This is what it looks like when you buy it in the store. We've got circles, we've got fun shapes like this. And so what this does is it gives you a frame to work with. And so let me show you how to use these bezels. All right, so the first thing when using a bezel is this tape. This is polyester tape. This is also sold at Michael's. It's a special tape to use with resin. So you don't want to use like packing tape. It won't work as well. Just want to cut a little piece off. And you can see the stickiness of it. I want to put the sticky side up and then put my bezel down on it and just kind of press. I even like to kind of like wiggle it. We want to make sure that bezel is really stuck to that tape. That is going to stop any type of like oozing, I guess. What a weird word, oozing. Here's the tape. I saw that question come by. This is what it looks like in stores. It's just called resin tape. And it's a special kind of tape that works with this. Okay, so here's our bezel. This step that I did of sticking the tape on the back of the bezel, this is what you need to do anytime you're using bezels. And this is like your prep. So the second step of the prep is just to pour some resin in here, a thin layer. And I want to take my wood stick and just push that thin layer to the edges. This is, less than a third of the way full. Maybe it's about a quarter of the way full. It's a very thin layer. And in fact, I'm going to just add another drop in there because I don't think I got enough. So I'm bringing the resin to the edges of the bezel. And now I'm going to pre-cure it. And I call it a pre-cure because we're going to be doing more curing of it. Is there something? No. Where? This one? Let's see. I just want to make sure there's no bubbles. There's none that I can see easily. Let me just kind of pick this up and look. Is that a bubble there? Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see. We were talking about bubbles earlier. There's a tiny bubble here, and this is the kind of bubbling you'll get with UV resin. It's just one single solitary bubble. To deal with those, I just try to poke it with my wood stick. If I can't poke it, I try to scoop it out, which I just did. All right, so now let's pre-cure this. That'll go in for 1 minute. So once we pre-cure it, then we get to have some fun by putting anything we want in there. What we're going to do today is put these dried flowers. This is also available at Michael's. We have lots of different dried flowers. Here's another example. I really like these ones because you get several different flowers and some greenery in there. Here's another example of flowers. Okay, so I'm going to open this package up. What I'm after is the greenery that's inside of it. And they look like this. This is a real dried plant. You want to use caution when handling these because they're dried, they can be brittle. And so let me set this down. Okay, so this went for 1 minute. This is ready for whatever we want to put on top of it. So those same steps that I just did, the adding of the tape, the putting a thin layer of resin, working it to the corners and curing for 1 minute. That's how we prep this. And now it's ready for our artistic vision. So our artistic vision today is going to include making a little Christmas tree. This is what we're going for. So I kind of want to lay, you know, this is a natural material. So every one of these is unique and slightly different. I want to kind of lay this here and try to visualize where I need to cut this to make a tree. So it looks like I need to cut about right here. And we can trim it even, oops, I got a little piece in there. Okay. Looks like he needs a little trim on the sides. Oh, I lost a branch, but that's okay. I'm actually glad that happened because I want to show you how to fix that. In fact, let's just take his friend branch off too. And I'm going to put him in there. And now these branches that fell off, let me show you how to fix it. I just put a little tiny dot of resin here, and then I'm going to dip my wood stick in it. This is just so that I have something sticky to grab this with. And then I can place them exactly where I want. And the same with this one. Actually, I'm going to flip this one over because I think it'll just look better. Okay. All right. And now when I have that where I want it, I just encase it in more resin. And you're just kind of eyeballing here to get it to the top of the bezel. And then I can come in with my wood stick and just, you know, these branches that were separated, I just want to make sure that they are in place. I'm going to add a little more resin.
So 2 questions for you, Stephanie.
Sure.
Do you clean the wood stick between uses? And if you do, how?
Yes. Okay, so I keep a paper towel off to the side here. And so every time I touch it, I just kind of just wipe it off. Baby wipes also are good if you really are getting a gloppy mess on there. That's the easiest way. You just want to wipe it with a paper towel.
And then the other question is, if you don't have the frame, can you do this in a mold?
Absolutely. You can absolutely do this in a mold. In fact, this mold, you know, a shape like this, I could fill this with resin, put my tree in there. The only difference in working with a bezel or a mold is the mold, the front face is back here. And the bezel, the front face is up. So you want to keep that in mind, like especially on this tree, because we're going to be adding some ornaments. And you want the ornaments to be on the right side of the piece, right? Would you do it in layers in the mold? That is really up to you. When we did this piece, we didn't do layers, but it's up to you. Where do you want your flowers to be? At the very bottom, in the middle? Depending on what you're making, you can control where they land vertically inside your piece. So you may be making a piece that has multiple layers in it, where you can control what is in front of another layer. Okay, so I'm still just playing around with this guy as I talk. We're going to add some decorations now. These are, let me show you what they look like. Again, available at Michael's. These are little acrylic gems. They have a pointy back, so they're not flat back. They're actually dimensional. So I have some here. I'll pour some out so you can maybe see them a little bit better. All right, so again with the wood stick, dipping it into the liquid resin just so that it's like a glue to pick this up. So I can pick it up on my stick and then just decorate. Drop that down wherever we want our decorations on the tree to go. Oops, I moved the whole tree. Okay, Ashley, I see your question there. Do you need protective gear like the 2-part resin? We do suggest using, if you have a sensitivity to resin, if you have sensitive skin in general, use gloves with this. I'd say the more important thing is you want to work in a well-ventilated area. When this cures, I mean, you're creating plastic when this cures. So it's probably not the best thing to breathe in. Wear a mask and just make sure that you're working in a ventilated area. All right, so there's my, there we go. So there's my gold ornaments. In our example, we also have some pearls. So I'm gonna add those in the same way. Dipping my stick into the liquid, or I mean, I have liquid here. I guess I could have just dipped it there, and picking up one by one. And pushing them down into the resin. Everything is in liquid at this point, so it's all kind of movie. You have to just constantly keep like making sure that your tree doesn't shift because it's all just in liquid. Okay, finally we have the star on the top of the tree, which we have here. Let me show you where that comes from. This is another available at Michael's item in this line, and it has a bunch of tiny little metal charms of different shapes. You've got hearts, you've got seashells, you've got stars. And so let me grab one of the stars for the top. And then after we place that star, we're going to be ready to cure this. Let me add one more pearl. Okay, so here's our metal star. And let me just put him right in place. Move this pearl. Okay, and you know, at home you can spend all the time placing this exactly the way that you want. You can go away and come back. It's still going to be liquid. So you're not fighting against the clock to try to, you know, get this exactly perfect. You can really take your time and place elements where you want them. Right now, I'm just making sure that everything is like sunk down into the resin. And I think we're ready to cure. So I move my lamp to it, I push the button, and that'll go for 1 minute. Okay, now we had a question about cleanup. So here is my cup from earlier. This is from when I mixed that gold glitter. And it's been sitting to the side of this lamp, and it's actually already started to cure a little bit. You can see it's a little thicker than before. The easiest way to clean this up, and the easiest way to clean your molds, is just to cure what's in there. You could go in with a baby wipe and kind of, you know, scoop that out as liquid, but it's much easier to deal with when you're dealing with a solid than a liquid. So I'm just going to put that under there and let that cure alongside my Christmas tree pendant. Okay, so also while that is curing, I would love to see for any of, it sounds like some of you are crafting along with us. And so I would love to see what you're making. If you use this hashtag UV Resin Craft on Instagram, on Facebook, please upload what you have created. Use this hashtag. I check it. I will comment. I will like on it. We love to see how people use our products creatively. So it's hashtag UV Resin Craft. And this is now on its 2nd minute of curing. While that's going, let me show you. Here's our example necklace. So we have just taken some ribbon and used a jump ring to attach that. Okay, so we do have a question that came up. Can you hand paint watercolor paper and use that in inside the resin? Yes, you can. The paper will work. You just want, I would test that first, depending on the watercolor that you're using. I'm not sure. I've never tried actual watercolor. I've tried acrylic paint works great. Acrylic paint markers, printed papers. I'll show you something. This is a picture, these two old people, and it is encased in resin. I'm going to turn this to the side so you can see. So what we did to make this is we took, actually this came out of this mold here. We took some resin, put it in the mold, put our piece of paper in the mold at the bottom, and filled the top with resin. We have some notes on the back because we were remembering what that is. But that's what printed things look like when they're in resin. You can see it does get a little transparent. Like you can kind of see my finger making a shadow behind there. So it does make the printed paper slightly transparent, but it's very workable. Okay, back to this. So we have cured this for 2 minutes. This was in there for probably about a minute. Let's deal with this one first. So here's your cleanup. Just pop that thing out. If you're left with a little bit of residue, you can just kind of scrape it away. Soap and water will also get that little bit of residue. I mean, with glitter, there's no matter how much you clean it, you're always going to have one piece of glitter in there, but soap and water will do very well too. And so this is what popped out of there. Okay, back to our tree here. So this has cured for 2 minutes. You can see that it is now in solid form, and I can peel the tape off. I can reuse this piece of tape if I want to. And this is what it looks like. This is the front. Sorry, wait, I flipped it over. This is the front. This is the back. It kind of looks similar in this case. All right, so to connect that to a necklace, again, we use a jump ring. So here's our jump ring. I have my pliers, and I'm going to open it up. Oops, let me get my other pliers. This one's a thicker jump ring, so it requires a little more manpower here. All right, so I open that up, connect that to the top, and I'm actually going to close it too. Okay, the question came up, how do I know what is the back and what is the front? It's just because I put the greenery in there first and then the ornaments on top of it. So when this is the back, I can see that those ornaments are in the wrong order that I want them. I want the ornaments to be front facing, and that's this side. But you can see both sides are really pretty. That comes in handy when you're making charms. Are we having a problem with the audio? Can you guys hear me okay?
There's no issues.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, person that was having a problem. Okay, so let's just add our ribbon. So we have, this is just printed ribbon, also available at Michael's. Let me show you the front of it. That's what that looks like. We want a piece, we want to create a necklace that doesn't have a clasp. So we just want that to be able to slip over our heads. So you want a necklace that's, I mean, you want a piece of ribbon that's about 26 inches or so. And so I'm just going to go into my jump ring, pull this through. Let me try folding it. we're pulling that through. Oh, I didn't. Oops, it's coming out of my jump ring. There we go. Okay. All right, so there's that. And now all we do to the ends is I'm just going to do a simple overhand knot to create a knot at the back here. Move that right to the end. And then there's our necklace. Okay, we only have a few minutes left. So if you have a question, now is the time to use that chat function and ask whatever question that you want. While we're doing that, I'm going to just do a little bit of a show and tell here of different things that you can do with the resin. So this pair of earrings was one that we made in one of our last classes. And so here we used a mold, we put some little greenery in it, some gold flakes, and we put a bow on the front of it. Okay, I'm gonna pull out the Christmas ones. No, I don't. This was from our last class. You can make a real liquid snow globe.
So there are a few questions coming in if you want me to read them.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, so can you show the liquid bottle again so they can see it one more time?
This?
Yep.
This one's been very well used. We have refilled this many times at this office, but let me show you what it looks like in stores. So this is what it looks like. This is in the jewelry making department. And it comes in 2 sizes. There is a larger size coming in the spring for this, but these are the sizes. About 2 ounces is the larger bottle.
And for pictures, do you put the picture in the mold first or put the resin and then the picture?
I put the resin and then the picture. That way you want to make sure that the picture is fully encased in the resin and not like a corner is poking out of it. And so to do that is the easiest way, is just put a little bit of resin, then sink the picture into the resin. Here I'm going to show you some more little show and tell. This is a pin that we made and put pearls around the edges of it. This came out of this mold here. So you can see, even after you mold it and pop it out, you can decorate it by adding borders, by adding things on top of it, and then by adding findings to the back. These findings are just added by using the UV resin and then curing it. It's a wonderful, wonderful glue. My husband is a scale modeler, and this is his favorite glue to use because it grabs almost instantly under the light. So that is that. I'm going to show you some hoop earrings. I'm wearing some today, but these hoops are so fun. Our mold makes 2 different sizes of hoops. And that mold looks like this. The cool thing about this one is that when you buy the mold, you get the little earring parts, because you need this metal part, obviously, to put it through your ear. You get it, so it comes packaged together when you buy this at Michael's like this. So this is the mold that you get, and you can see the little earring pieces are in there. So that is a hoop earring. We can also make bangles. Here's our bangle mold. This one happens to have flowers in it. You can also make rings. Let me show you some rings, like for your fingers. We have our ring mold somewhere here. Here's our ring mold. It's also been well used, but it has sizes 4 through 9 in there. Okay, there's a request to talk about the snow globe again. We have a whole bunch of these. Let me just bring them out here, but this is a real working snow globe. This is an advanced project. This is a glass ball, also available at Michael's. And you build up the snowman that's inside using pearls. You build up this base using a ring, like I just showed you. Oh, where'd it go? That's just a ring that goes on your finger is what we used for the base. So this is a very advanced project. We just did this project, this class 2 weeks ago. It is available now on Michael's YouTube. And so if you go on michaels.com, you can find this class.
Speaking of classes, people are wondering when your next one is?
We are done with classes for this year, but we're starting again, I think January 8th is our next class. It should be listed very shortly. I don't think it's up on the website just yet. They usually show up just a couple weeks before the classes, but be on the lookout for that. The words UV resin will always be in the class title. So if there's a search for UV resin, we will be doing more classes. Okay, and just a couple minutes left before we go, I want to show you because we didn't use too many of them, the dried flower projects. So dried flowers can be put into a mold, but all of these pieces were made with bezels. And this shows off some of the bezel shapes that we have. Here's another one. Okay. So there we go. I mean, the possibilities are truly endless. Again, I would love to see what you make. Use the hashtag UVResinCraft to show us. Thank you so much for attending. We are doing classes. This, like I said, this is our last class for December, but in January and beyond, every 2 weeks, we're going to be doing a class like this. Please come back and join us. It'll be a different class every time. And we look forward to it. So thank you so much for attending, and we'll see you next time.